Unit 6 Summative Review. So, question number 1. Last month you earned 4x plus $15 by babysitting. This month you earned 3x plus $6 babysitting. How much money did you earn in the last 2 months? Well, since we're looking for the total, we're looking for our total. We're going to add. We want to add our two values, so we want to do 4x plus 15 plus 3x plus 6. We add our x's, 4x plus 3x is 7x. Then we add our numbers. 15 plus 6 is 21. So we get 7x plus 21. Question number 2. Write the polynomials below in standard form. Standard form is highest exponent. So negative 6x to the fifth to the smallest. So highest. So we're going to write these in order from by exponents. So I'm just changing the order of this, so they go in order from the highest exponent to the smallest. So 5, 3, 2, 1, and then no x's. Then when we look at letter B, same thing. Highest exponent, which is y to the 10th, y to the 6th, y to the 3rd, y squared plus y minus 9. Highest exponent to the smallest exponent. Question number 3, simplify the following monomials. Well, we're multiplying here, but they're just monomials, not binomials, so we're not going to use the FOIL method or the box method. What we want to do is we want to multiply our numbers, so 2 times negative 10 is negative 20. We put our x's together, x to the 3rd and x to the 7th. We add the exponents, which is 10, and now we do the same thing with our y's. Y to the 5th and y to the 4th, y to the 9th. And then when we look at B, same thing. We have our numbers, so 4 times 12 is 48. I have my m's. M to the 2nd, m to the 5th, m to the 7th, and then we have n's, n to the 6th, and n to the 1st, n to the 7th. So we have 48, m to the 7th, n to the 7th. Question 4. Lucy is 4x minus 1 inches tall, and Jane is 8x plus 9 inches tall. Write an expression that represents how much taller Jane is than Lucy. So how much taller? So since it's asking us how much taller, we're going to subtract. So we want to subtract. Jane is then Lucy, so we do Jane, which is 8x plus 9. Putting these my expressions in parentheses, especially with this subtracting, because when we subtract, what we have to do is we distribute this subtraction. We make it negative 4x and then plus 1. I get rid of that. And now we put our x together. So 8x minus 4x is 4x, and then 9 plus 1 is 10. So we get 4x plus 10. So Jane is 4x plus 10 inches taller than Lucy. Find the expression for the greatest common factor of these polynomials. So we're looking for the greatest common factor. So what do all of these have in common? So when we look at number 1, 15, 10, and 5, they all have a 5. X, X, and X. The smallest amount of X's is X to the 3rd. Then Y, Y, and Y. So they all have Y's. The smallest amount is just Y. Now it just asks us for the greatest common factor. So we don't need the factor. We just need to write the greatest common factor. And letter B, we have 30, 18, and 24. They all have 6 in common. M, 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 so they all have an M, and the smallest amount of M's is 2. They each have an N, and the smallest amount of N's is 5. So the greatest common factor, 6, M squared, N to the 5th. Question 6. This pond built a pool in the shape of a square in her backyard, like the one shown below. What are the possible values of x? Well, if it's a square, what we know about a square is they have 4 equal sides. So since they have equal sides, what we have is x squared plus 45 equals 14x. So now we have our equation, so now we just have to solve the equation. Well, to solve the quadratic equation, it has to equal 0. So we do minus 14x and minus 14x. So we get x squared minus 14x plus 45 equals 0. So now we can figure this out. Well, we're looking for factors of 45 that give us negative 14. So factors of 45 that give us negative 14, we have x minus 5 and x minus 9. So negative 9 times negative 5 is positive 45. Negative 9 plus negative 5 equals negative 14. So now what we do is we take the first one, x minus 9 equals 0. The second one, x minus 5 equals 0. Plus 9 plus 9 plus 5 plus 5. So x equals 9, x equals 5. So our answer, the two values for x, 9 or 5. And we can check this if we plug it in. We plug in 9. 14 times 9 is going to give us 90 plus 36, which is 126. 81 plus 45, 126. And the other value is 5, so we do, I'll do this in red. So we can do 14 times 5, which is 70. And then 5 squared plus 45, 25 plus 45, which is 70. So 70 is equal to 70, and 126 is equal to 126. So the two sides are the same. So the values for x are 9 and 5. Going on number 7. The amount of money you make per hour is represented by the expression. What is the expression that represents the amount of money in dollars you make per hour? Well, we're just going to simplify this expression. So when we have it, we're just going to do to divide them all. So 50 divided by x is 50 divided by x. 6x divided by x. X cross off, we're left with 6. Then minus x squared divided by x. Well, subtract our exponents. 2 minus 1 gives x to the first power. We don't need to write that one. If you do, it's not wrong. But all we're doing is simplifying that and dividing it out. Question number 8. All sides of the school play are shown below. They have the same length. Write the expression that represents how much fence is needed to go around the entire play area. Well, it's the fence is going around the play area. Well, we're not finding the area just because it says the play area. We're trying to find, there's my fence, it's going around the outside. So we need to find the perimeter. So I need to determine the perimeter. So to find that, we can add up all four sides, or we can just do 5m plus 6 times 4, which is going to give me 20m plus 24. So we're trying to determine the perimeter around the outside of the school. So we want to find the perimeter, add up all the sides, or since it's the square, multiplying by 4. Question number 9. We have a rectangle. The width is x minus 6. If the area is x squared minus 10x plus 24, which represents the length? Well, what we want to do is we want to factor this. So we want to factor this. We know that one factor already is x minus 6. Well, what's the other factor? Well, factors of 24, that give us negative 10. We know that one of those factors is already negative 6. So the other factor has to be negative 4. And we can just check this. We can figure out which of these answers times x minus 6 will give us them. So we could check all of these. And just by looking at that, you know that this is going to be x squared minus 2x minus 24. So that's not going to be right. And then when we have x minus 4, x minus 6, that will give us x squared minus 10x plus 24. And then looking at the 18s, we know that they're not even going to give us the 24. So the answer here is G. Question number 10. The area of a rectangular room can be represented by the expression 16x squared minus 4. What are the lengths of its sides? Well, when we look at this, it gives us 4 choices. We can factor this. So we want to factor this. Well, 16x squared minus 4. Well, what we have to think of is what times what's going to give me 16, and then what times what's going to give me 4. And since there's no middle term, they have to cross off. So the square root of 16x squared, square root of 4, we're going to get 4x and 4x, and then plus 2 and minus 2. So that middle term cancels out. But the other way to do this is we can simply multiply these. So if I multiply these out, I know that 8x times 8x is 64x squared. Well, that's not 16, so I don't have to go any farther. If I look at this one, I have 2x times 8x minus 2. Well, I have 16x squared, but 2x times negative 2, that's negative 4x. I just need negative 4. So B is not right. And then if you look at C, 4x minus 2 and 4x minus 2. Well, 4x times 4x is 16x squared. 4x times negative 2 is negative 8x. Negative 2 times negative 4x is negative 8x. Negative 2 times negative 2 is plus 4. Well, we know it needs to be negative 4, and when we put these together, it's going to give us negative 16, so C is not right. And then D, when we multiply them out, that will give us our 16x squared minus 4, which is the correct answer. Going to number 11. A farmer plants corn on a field that's 2 kilometers by 3. The farmer wishes to increase the area used for planting by increasing the length and width by the same amount. The area of the new field is represented by the expression 2 plus x times 3 plus x. Which of the following simplified expression is represents a total area? Well, what it's asking us is just multiply these out. So if I want to use the box method here, I have 2 in x, 3 in x, 2 times 3, 6, 3 times x is 3x, x times 2 is 2x, x times x is x squared. So I have 6, 3x plus 2x is 5x plus x squared. So I'm looking for 6 plus 5x plus x squared, letter C. What we don't do is we don't just do 2 times 3 and x times x. That's not the way we multiply binomials. So we use one of our methods, the box method, the FOIL method, or the distributive method. Question number 12, simplify the following binomials. Well, to simplify these, we look at our two numbers. Well, 6 and 15, well, we can simplify, divide them both by 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. 15 divided by 3 is 5. And now with our x's, well, we want to subtract the x's. Negative 5 minus 3, that's going to give me x to the negative 8. And then with my y, subtract 4 minus negative 8 is going to give me y to the 12th. Now, when I get this, what I know is I cannot have a negative exponent. I got that because I got x negative 5 minus 3 is x to the negative 8, and y to the 12th. But I can't have a negative exponent, so that needs to go in the denominator. The y is going to stay in the numerator, so my final answer is going to be 2y to the 12th divided by 5x to the 8th. And then with letter B, we're going to do the same thing. 24 divided by 3 is 8. When I look at my exponents, 7 minus 8 is x to the negative first. And with the y's, negative 5 minus 2 is y to the negative 7th. Well, I know that since this is a negative, it's going to go in the denominator. A negative, it's going to go in the denominator. So it's going to be 8 over x to the first, y to the 7th. Question 13. In 1982, the Major League player George Foster was paid 2.4 times 10 to the 6 million dollars per year. And 2000, Alex Rodriguez was paid 2.52 times 10 to the 7 million dollars per year. About how many times greater was the yearly salary of A-Rod than George Foster? Well, since it's how many times greater, we want to divide. So we want to take Alex Rodriguez, which is 2.52 times 10 to the 7th, and we want to divide that by 2.04 times 10 to the 6th. So the way we divide in scientific notation, we divide our two numbers. So let's just grab our calculator. So we have 2.52 divided by 2.04 gives me 1.235294. So I'm going to round that to 1.24. And then we subtract the exponent, so 7 minus 6, that's times 10 to the first. Then what I can say is, since it's 10 to the first, I move the decimal over one time, so it's about 12.4 times greater. So Alex Rodriguez is making about 12.4 times as much money. 14 simplified. Well, when we simplify 14a and b, we must write, since it says squared, that means we have to write this 2 times. Have to write it 2 times, and now we use one of our methods. I'll do the distributive method for this one. So we write it out 2 times, so now we can multiply. So I have 16y squared minus 24y minus 24y plus 36. So it's going to be 16y squared minus 48y plus 36. Letter B, I have to write this out 2 times, so it's going to be 8m plus 9. So I write it 2 times since that's squared. So now I'll use the box. So 8m, 9, 8m, and 9. 8m times 8m is 64m squared. That gives me 72m, and 72m, and then 81. So I have 64m squared, 72m plus 72m. It's 144m plus 81. Number 15. Average cost per person of a group taking a cruise is given by the expression. Which expression below is equivalent to this? So which is the same? So all it's saying is that we are going to just simplify this and divide them. Well, 3,000 divided by x is 3,000 divided by x. So we know it's either C or D, so it's not A or B. And then 70 divided by x is plus 70, so it's not plus x squared. And then when we cross these off, minus 2x squared divided by x is just x. So the answer for 15 is C. Question 16. When we simplify this, what's the exponent of n? Well, what we have to know is that we have to distribute this to everything. So it's 5 to the 4th, m to the 24th, n to the 12th, and p to the 8th. When we distribute that exponent, we multiply. It's asking us for the exponent of n. So that's 12. So the exponent for n is 12. When the same amount is, what is the coefficient? Well, the coefficient is 5 to the 4th power, which means 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. So we have 25. 125 times 5, which is 625. 17. Find the solution to the following equations. Read in the positive answer for letter B. Letter A are solutions, factors of 8 that give us negative 6. Well, x minus 4, x minus 2. So we factor it first. Negative 4 times negative 2 is positive 8. Negative 4 plus negative 2 is negative 6. So we factor it. After I factor it, I set each equal to 0. So we get x equals 4, x equals 2. So the answer for A is x is 4, x is 2. With B, well, when I go to solve a quadratic equation, it has to equal 0. Well, this equals 18, not 0, so first thing we have to do is subtract 18. So we have p squared minus 3p minus 18 equals 0. Now we can factor. Since it equals 0, we look to figure out, well, what are factors of negative 18? Well, my factors of negative 18, that give me negative 3, p minus 6, and p plus 3. So p minus 6 and p plus 3. Negative 6 times 3 is negative 18. Negative 6 plus 3 is negative 3. So now we say p minus 6 equals 0. P plus 3 equals 0. P equals 6. And p equals negative 3. So we have p is equal to 6 or negative 3. But it asks us to only grid in the positive answer. So the positive answer is 6. So we just grid in 6. Question 17. We have a table. It must be 18 square feet to fit enough food for everyone. So n is the width. We want to write an equation that could be used to find the area of the table. Well, with our first one, area is equal to length times width. Well, it tells us that the area 18 square feet. So we know that 18 is equal to my length times my width. So we have 18 equals n times n plus 3. And then, so now we wrote the equation. Then it says, well, what is the width? So we have to solve this. So to solve it, first step is to distribute. So I'm going to distribute. So I have n squared plus 3n. Then I subtract 18 from both sides. So now 0 equals n squared plus 3n minus 18. So now I want factors of negative 18 that give me negative 3. Well, I have n plus 6, n minus 3. So once we get our factors, what we say is n plus 6. So we write our factors. So n plus 6 equals 0, and n minus 3 equals 0. We solve the first one, subtract 6, so n equals negative 6. Second one, add 3, so n equals 3. Now with this one, we have an answer of negative 6 and 3, but it asks us for the width. Well, when we're talking about the width cannot be negative, so the answer, the width, can only be, or positive 3 feet. So the width is 3 feet. And if you write your sentence out, you will notice that once you write negative 6, that's not going to make sense. And then the last question.
And let me help out on this one. We're painting a wall of the bedroom. The wall has a window like in the diagram. All measurements are in feet. Everybody's a right angle. How do I express the area of the entire wall? Well, I know area is length times width. So area is going to be my length and my width. So to find the area of the whole wall, it will be 7m plus 2 multiplying 3m plus 10. Wow, this looks like one of those double distribution kind of questions. We may have to FOIL this. I know Mr. Featherman teaches a different way, but I love FOILing using the area method. So 3m and 10. Oh, it looks like a little box. That's right. 3m and 7m multiply to 21m squared. 3m times 2. Wait, that doesn't even look like a 2. 3m times 2 is 6m. 10 times 7m is 70m. And 10 times 2, that's just 20. If you look at the numbers in the box, you end up with 21m squared plus 76m and 20 as my constant. Mr. Featherman, why don't you finish this one?
And the next one, so that was the first one. We have to write an expression in simplest form to represent the area of the window. Well, the window is going to be inside the wall. So the window is represented by this rectangle. So when we look at that rectangle, still, area is equal to length times the width. So I'm going to write that out. Area is length times width. Well, my area is equal to the length is m times my width, which is 2m. So when we multiply this, well, this time we're not going to use the box method. We're not going to use the FOIL. We're not going to distribute. Well, we are going to distribute. We just have m times 2m. So area is equal to 2m squared. So now we have the whole wall, we have the window, and the last thing wants us to figure out the area of the shaded region. But when we look at this, we're not putting them together, we're taking the window out of the wall. So since we're taking them out, we're taking them apart, we need to subtract these two values. So the last one we want to do 21m squared plus 76m plus 20 minus my 2m squared. I put that in parentheses because especially if it's a binomial or trinomial, we have to distribute that negative to everything. So this becomes minus 2m, so 21m squared minus 2m is 19m squared. So the area of the shaded region is 19m squared plus 76m plus 20. And that is our review of Unit 6.
You guys will do great.